Hello, everybody. This is Dale from the Transatlantic Wrestling Talk Show podcast. And today, boys and girls, we are going to go over just what's happening here in the infrastructure, as I style my hair, with wrestling. The interesting thing about it is that is there really a person that believes that AEW is actually going to gain any steam here? No offense to them. I like what they're doing with just trying to get Ring of Honor out there. However, you do need your own television program to go alongside of that. And it makes sense to have a guy like Chris Jericho actually taking the forefront and kind of having this crusade against indie wrestlers and indie darlings that have held the title beforehand. It's without saying, it makes the most sense to have a guy like him hold the title if you're trying to market this brand as its own entity. Look, he's known. How much he's known outside of the realm of wrestling is debatable. I think he is only because his father was a hockey player and Jericho's been all over TV for 25 years and he's been in wrestling for 35, I guess you could say too. But also along the lines of music too. With music, he definitely put himself out there and created some okay songs. We hear one every week, and it's been that song's been out for at least 6 years, and it gets annoying. Um, but it's marketable. This is something Tony Khan wants to hear. This is something that even Chris wants to change his music, but Tony Khan says no because he loves the sing song soccer chants that goes on in the industry. To me, I think it's ridiculous, but it's a marketing tool. Um, I get it though. I think, after a while, we could take a look at it. And I think, did Roland ever really match the Undertaker style? No. But, we were able to do this, and it was definitely part of the atmosphere for that year. In my generation. But anyway, remember when Undertaker came out and was the biker, he first started with American Badass from Kid Rock. It ran its course. WWE quickly had their favorite band ever, Limp Bizkit, come into play and create several songs. And I think that they also had Crack Addict in there a lot, which was a fun song. Obviously, My Generation might have been it. No, I'm sorry. The biggest thing we think about is My Way. My Way, even for mock videos, as far as big, huge matchups go, I think that My Way stands the test of time. Um, you could put it side by side with when you're thinking about songs, original or unoriginal. You could think of stuff like Rick Derringer with Hulk Hogan. You could think of even the original WrestleMania theme song, which I do believe at some point in time they may bring that back for a 40th edition of WrestleMania. And I think that would be great. You could see guys like coming out and being honored. Like, okay, I went to WrestleMania 20, and one of the things there was that, you're honoring a bunch of legends. And this is really the forefront of let's promote the Hall of Fame as a thing, even though it's not a thing. But I guess the accolades of being in the Hall of Fame was something that, was on the stage, no pun intended, while WrestleMania was out there. So you had Roddy Piper for WrestleMania 20, Don Morocco, I think, Jesse Ventura, I believe, too. And that's when he interviewed Trump on the side, asking if he should run for president. I'm talking about Jesse Ventura. I think we need somebody in the White House that's a wrestler. I could do that on and on. But anyway, going back to the whole thing though with Chris Jericho, I get what you're doing. I get this is a nice thing as far as trying to promote it. It's not working. Why isn't it working? Um, it's almost like when the WWE had the cruiserweight division and the 205 live division coming out on Raw, and if I do recall, they actually ended up switching the scrub on the bottom uh, right hand corner of the TV, just saying this is CWC or Cruiserweight or 205 Live, whatever. It's almost like a TV show within a TV show, and it just didn't make sense. It's also not making sense to have Jay Lethal on this crusade as well against certain people like Darby Allen. Now, I think Darby's great. Darby's somebody really fun to watch. My whole thing is that he's aimless. Darby is so aimless right now. When they had that tournament last month to crown the new AEW champion, and it ended up being Moxley again for some reason, they missed an opportunity with Darby. I'll bang the table here just saying why he should be there. He's aimless. Why not have an underdog like him with Sting in his corner? Even without Sting in his corner, that would actually add to the storyline. Sting gets taken out by enemies that are inside the tournament. Now Darby has to go and fight on his own, which he's always done. Darby just always had Sting as his backup. But why wouldn't you help promote a guy like that who just is floundering on? They had the TNT title on him for a little bit, I think, and then Miro beat him. Ever since then, after Miro, that title has done dick for anybody. Sammy made it worse. Cody made it worse again. The beginning of that title was actually pretty fun. Between Cody and Brody Lee and Darby. Scorpio Sky too. No, actually, no. When Scorpio won it went downhill. Now look where it's at. That's sad. They have it as a peg holder on Wardlow just so he doesn't get stale. What are they doing with him? It's sad because he's so over and people just want to see the power bomb, which is fine. It's last episode. He's facing Brian Cage. Cold, by the way. What I mean by cold is there's no storylines whatsoever. For an industry and for fans that tell me to Google history between two wrestlers and then make fun of people that say that, why can't they Google? It's such an effort. I'm sorry, but recaps happen on the beginning of every TV show now that's not a sitcom, unless there's a continuation of something. My wife and I are enjoying The Handmaid's Tale right now. I wouldn't say enjoying it, but kind of have to watch it when you have that interest in it for X amount of time and so many years. They recap what happened, what was significant. Game of Thrones. You mean to tell me that Game of Thrones years ago, before it jumped the shark, I guess you could say, they didn't have the ability to actually tell you what happened and how this portrays a big what if as far as what's going to come this episode? Hell, they even went into things as far as, well, this is important because this happened in season 2, and we're going to come back to this. Why can't Tony Khan get off his Twitter and use some of the Ring of Honor staff and production company to let us know how something happened or how something came about? But in this particular case, with Wardlow and Brian Cage, we're not going to get that. Let's just throw them together. Me in particular, I'm a Brian Cage fan. I think what he does is phenomenal. I used to go to a gym at some point. I used to see people work out like that. I couldn't imagine them doing what he does in the ring. Unorthodox is not a way to say it, actually. I think unorthodox is basically just a description to tell people that they're a little wonky, but they get the job done and look great at it. When you look at Brian Cage overall, nobody should move that way. It's just awesome watching him do that. To have him go against Wardlow, another guy that also has the capabilities of moving and flowing like that, it's just unbelievable too. So I liked actually watching him doing Hurricane Ranas. He did it in that match against Jake Hager about a year and a half ago, because they had to settle the score and there was a lot of animosity between them. Remember that one? Besides, I'm still wondering how come Jericho, just get on him again. How come Jericho has such a sweet spot for Jake? Years ago, he had it with Lance Cade. That was a nice little pairing there, and it made sense. Andy and I talked about a pay-per-view match between Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho that took place in Great American Bash 2008. On the outside was Lance Cade. The wonderful thing about that was that Lance Cade was inserted because Shawn Michaels trained him. Lance felt begrudged because of it. He had some angst against Shawn, but Jericho helped him bring it out and said, "This guy, Lance Cade, is great." Led to a storyline. Not much to do. There's realism in it. Let's get that back, Tony. Tony, what I want for you to do, I know I'm one person here, but think of the thousands and millions of fans that just want you to have a better TV product. That includes production, that includes video packages. Hell, you just bought a library of 20 some odd years of wrestling clips. Why don't you utilize the people there? You give everybody a wrestling contract and pay them six, sometimes seven figures, and they're on the shelf. Miro is making $1 million so he could fight people that have no character drive except for the House of Black, which two-thirds of them don't even want to be there or aren't even there anymore. Like I say, contractually, I don't know what's going on. That's something we'll never know about. And the backstage antics right now, just terrible. The overall feel, terrible back there. But it's okay. Miro's getting paid $1 million. I don't even know if his wife does Twitch or anything anymore or makes her money or promotes Bang energy drink or something like that. Just amazing to me though that you just have so many different people here that you're paying so much money for, but still we want a better TV product from you. Not saying the in-ring capabilities aren't there either, but why don't you just have a program going on that actually tells us like, hey, look, there's storylines to behold. That's what I would appreciate. Good TV. Last night was the 25th anniversary of DX. And it's funny because they also did it on the season premiere of Raw. The only time back in the day Raw was off the air was for a puppy show. I remember the Westminster, I would try to stay up late. The Westminster Dog Show was on. What would I do at that point? I guess I'd get into football. But then that made me grow into a bigger football fan at that point. When I was a kid, I liked the Dallas Cowboys because all they did was win. I enjoyed it. One sec. Sometimes when you go on these long-winded rants, you end up dying a little bit. um, but anywho, yeah, I was a Dallas Cowboy fan, and then all of a sudden they just stopped playing. And part of just stopped playing was just, I think I was just paying attention to other things at the time, and then got back into it and became a Giants fan like my dad. And Giants won nothing at that point. It was terrible. Long story short, though, you come back to things like how I came back for the love of wrestling. Andy and I started doing these podcasts and then live streams. Now we're going back to the recorded views, and we love it. We love talking about the older times, not even older times, but stuff from years and years ago. You'll see it published soon. We go back into 1997. We're a point where Tony Khan's a huge fan of. That's a good thing because WCW was a ratings grab at that point, and they did a lot of great things. The problem I have with it, though, is that when you look at some of the finishes of WCW back then, nothing made sense. When you got more people looking towards the curtain than the actual match, that's when you got a problem. When you have expected add-ons into a one-on-one contest, that's when you have a problem. WWE is very guilty of this too. It's fine. There's always an out, and everybody needs to be made to look strong by having an out. Last night, you had a great idea, though, with Bobby Lashley and with Seth Rollins. Brock Lesnar came back, hurt Bobby. This is something that's been brewing for 18 years, I guess you could say. I don't recall when they had a match with each other. It probably happened. I just don't recall it in recent memory, though, at least, or them interacting. And the interaction was actually going to happen at that elimination chamber. That was in Saudi, I believe. And Brock had to come through and improvised in a great deal, by the way, because Brock, believe it or not, has a great mind. We've talked with wrestlers that look at Brock and they say, that guy knows what he's doing. He looks dangerous, but he knows what he's doing, Brock Lesnar. And they have something here with Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. You mean to tell me they aren't going into Saudi thinking of that? I don't recall the Saudi crew, or I'm sorry, I don't recall the Saudi crowd and if they have love for Bobby Lashley or anything. They have long minds, meaning that they have big memories, long memories. So Bobby Lashley being around for that long, there's a significance to it. That's what I appreciate. So they may love him. They love Brock. That's not a, I mean, it's not a science in that, but I think they have something going on there with Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Anyway, Lashley had an out as far as him losing to Seth Rollins. Seth ended up winning that belt. It's nice. Funniest part about it is that I saw a post that really had me scratch my head, and it said, all three members of the Shield have titles. Okay. So Seth has the US title. Roman has the Universal and World title. I guess, when are they going to melt them together? And then you have Moxley, who is the flag bearer for AEW. And that makes sense, but why over and over again? Why is there a three-time champion? There's so many other people that can compete with him. Like I said before, I don't understand why you don't have Darby actually in a storyline here. I, my video today was actually to talk about the seismic shift in how, well, everybody thought AEW was going to overtake WWE. It's not happening. The Good Brothers came out to aid AJ Styles again. They know where the money is. And take away the money, they know where the product that actually makes the most sense is. Yes, they were in AEW. I don't care what Tony Khan thinks about that. Think about it. These guys that toured in Japan, they're just like, I'll get paid from Tony. That's fine. And as soon as that was done, look where they went back to. You mean to tell me FTR isn't going to do the same thing? You mean to tell me that Miro isn't thinking twice about it? Triple H is the huge benefactor here. He celebrated his own freaking stable yesterday. You mean to tell me that nobody wants to go when you're at the CFL league? You mean to tell me nobody wants to go to the NFL? Wasting time, dude. A waste of time. One other thing I want to mention here, Sammy Guevara. I've heard people whisper about how Sammy Guevara is definitely on the radar of WWE. Why would they want him? Why would the WWE want Sammy Guevara? His track record speaks for himself. He's an asshole. Think about the stuff that he does in the back. Nobody likes him. He's got a heel look. That's great. But he's also got a mindset of a fucking 4-year-old. I don't care about who he's dating. I don't care about him. Dutch Mantel, RVD, he brought up a great point the other day. They said that they asked, why is there an obsession with people posing with their tongue out? Because it just shows how crazy and wild and how fun people are, I guess. To me, it just looks so kiddish. A kid does this on the top of a swing set or a slide before they're about to go down. Like, I don't care. Sammy's a child. He's reckless. He's going to kill himself with what he does. Why would WWE have interest in him? Because he's young? I'll point to anybody on that NXT roster, and I'll tell you who actually can out wrestle that kid. I promise you. All right. Anyway, I'm going to end this. I went on a little too long, but you mean to tell me that the juggernaut known as the WWE is in trouble? Please. If anything, if you want to correct the ship here, Tony, Make sure there's no non-compete clause and those NDAs are in full-fledged force here, because it's going to be scorched earth if you have people that still continue to act the way they do, not only on social media, but inside your ring. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy, and thanks for tuning in.